Okay, welcome back. We're now going to look at the DVO packages. The Filmmaster range supports 3 DVO packages: DVO Restore, DVO Enhance, and the more recent DVO Convert. So we're going to look at all of those in a project that is a collection of clips from around the world. All of these are real-life problems that various Digital Vision customers have encountered, and in many cases Digital Vision have responded by bringing in new tools to the system to deal with those problems. So let's go ahead and load the project. So here's my timeline. We'll start at the beginning. This first sequence here is very interesting, both in terms of content and the problem that you see. So what you're seeing here is a sort of a field problem where the field sequencing is wrong. If I hit play there, you can see it's looking pretty strange, and the material is also pretty old and dirty and dusty as well. So the first thing we need to do is deal with this field problem. Now, instead of merging or interpolating fields for this, what we really want to do is not change the fields, but just correct the field order. So if I come over to the toolbox over here and choose Effect and Field Dominance, bring that into User Effects, and as soon as I load that, you can see very, very quick this particular filter, because all it's doing is rearranging the file. So I'm going to put it into a loop mode, so we're working just on the one scene. So that's fixed the field problem. It already looks quite a lot better. And it's quite dirty. Let's find a reference scene to work from. The next thing I want to do with this is to remove the dirt and dust. So come down to the bottom of the GUI here and use the Restore tool, which is of course part of the Restore package. And there are 2 tools in this particular tool area. The first one is DVO Dust, which is an automatic tool, and the second one is DVO Fix, which is the same algorithms but used with a brush on a frame-by-frame basis. So we start off with automatic, obviously, go to Enable, and I'm going to choose Heavy for this particular sequence, and you can see that it's immediately cleaned up the dust there. So let's just go Before. Look at the dust in the flag and the background here. Enable, and it's already worked on this frame, and it will continue to process through the clip. I'm going to expand the clip a little bit here so that you can see. Again, pretty quick. We're working on HD resolution files here, so it's pretty quick. And the next thing for me to do is to just check through the sequence, and then you see here there's a scratch or something on this particular frame that is too big really for the automatic detector to pick up, so I'm going to need to fix that manually. All of these settings, although I'm using presets, there is a phenomenal amount of tweaking that's possible if you need to do something a little bit more precise on any particular scene. But 90% of the time, most of us are quite happy using presets with fairly minimal intervention. So I'm going to go to the brush tool. There is a rectangle tool as well if you have larger, more severe damage, but in this case I'm just going to use the brush, bring it over to the screen. I can use the Shift control to change the brush size, so I need a fairly small brush for this, and I just point to the scratch and tell it that that is in fact not supposed to be there, and the system uses the same motion detected algorithms that the automatic dust filter does, just for this one frame. And from now on it would be just a matter of just stepping through the project and fixing anything that we see on a frame-by-frame basis. If we find that the grain pattern is not quite matching, we have grain tools in there as well. If I crank that up, you're going to see that it increases the grain in that area. Very often what I'll do is just zoom into the picture and then tweak that grain setting so that it matches the surrounding areas. So that's the Fix tool. I'm just going to play that clip now and see what that looks like. There's one other thing that I might like to do with this particular sequence. You can see that it's probably from a very old print, and you can see a lot of camera weave moving up and down there. This is where the sprockets are larger than is optimum, and so it might be nice to stabilize the image, and part of the DVO Restore package is DVO Steady. So I'll take that on and drop it onto the user effects area again, and if I go down to Steady, you'll see that it's now analyzing this particular clip. So it goes through it in 2 passes. The first pass is just analyzing the frame movement, and then the second pass is to correct for it. And while it's doing that, I'm going to put up a reference wipe, and I'm going to ask it to compare with itself, with the original source material. So you can see now, before the various fixes, the field dominance fix, the dust, and the fixed filters. And I can see from my timeline now that it's already rendered that stability. If you look at the right-hand side of that frame line, of that compare tool, you'll see that the frame line at the top is stable, but the image is very, very unstable. If you look at the left-hand side, the image has indeed been steadied. We've taken out the film weave, and you can see at the top there the frame moving up and down to give us that compensation. Of course, in a real job, we then zoom the picture to fill the frame, and everybody's happy. Once you've done settings like that, if you have other shots like these two, which are pretty much the same, got all the same types of problems on there, all I need to do is select those two shots. I'll do this in event view, and select the first scene that we've just graded, make sure that I have the base setting, and simply recall that to the other two clips. And that's now starting to do the various fixes that I've put on the first frame. While it's doing those, I'll just go back to the first frame and we'll do a simple color correction on there. Just add a little bit of blue, brighten it up. We might also want to sharpen this shot, so I'll go over to my enhanced package, choose DVO sharpen, and what I might do in this case is, instead of applying it to the user effects, I might apply it as a layer. So I'll just open that up for you to see. There it is. And the advantage of putting it into a layer is that we also have shapes and keys. So in this case, we've sharpened the image in the circle. So we're just drawing attention to the front. And so now as I move that circle around, you're going to see before and after. There we go, before and after. So it's just sharpening up the guys on the front of the train. There's some very nice controls to do this. We have low sharp detail and high sharp detail, so shadow detail, highlight detail. In this case, I think we probably don't want to pump the whites up so much, so I'm going to back that off. There's also a trim for the shadows and the highlights. This will remove any enhancement in the shadows or the highlights. Overall strength, spatial strength, and crispness. So we just set that up and get a good looking image set there. Okay, let's move on to something else. This is different sort of problem. Quite an old print, I would say. Very, very grainy, especially there in the background. There's a lot of dirt and dust going on as well. So my main concern here is the grain. So we're moving from the DVO Restore package to the Enhance package. We'll come back to Restore in a second. So I'm going to go to Grain. Again, load it into the User Effects area. And I'm going to, again, use a default. This is really grainy material, so I'm going to go all the way down to Film Coarse. There's 3 basic presets in this particular tool. Again, a huge amount of variable parameters that we can work with. Temporal strength in RGB channels, spatial strength in RGB channels, spatial threshold, which allows me to trim according to the grain size in the image, and a size filter as well. There's also detection parameters here to do with the motion detection, color space, and various sensitivity levels. I'm going to set the spike to 0. And you can see the image here. We've applied that setting. It's a little bit plasticky to my taste, but it really has got rid of the grain. Another nice feature, of course, of the Digital Vision Film Master tools is that everything happens on a still frame. So even the noise reducer, which in hardware traditionally you had to have running images for, I can see that working on a still frame.